What's going on YouTube? Sim here again with another Forza tuning video. I know, crazy. And today we've got the Aston Martin DBS, one of my favourite cars. It was one of my favourite cars on Forza 5, for different reasons than it is on here. But I have made a decent job of this one. I use this car a lot around Spa. It's actually my lap record holder around Spa in A-Class. And tracks of that ilk, those kind of long power tracks, this car is very good for. Nürburgring, full Nordschleife. This is a good car for that. It's got great top speed. It handles brilliantly. Yeah, it's just a wonderful car. So with all that being said, let's get to the tune and see what I did. Okay, so starting out with the engine. Standard engine, because you can put the 458 engine in this, which would be an interesting experiment and is still something that I'm going to do. And this wouldn't be a bad car to try it with, so perhaps that's a future project. And no supercharger, just naturally aspirated, beautiful. Now aero, no aero at all. I have experimented with aero with it. I had a different tune where it had full aero and that, but I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. It didn't feel right. It wasn't quick enough. It didn't handle that great either, and it was just, I don't know, I didn't like it. Tyres, we've got sport tyres, which is providing us with, you know, those numbers there, 5.8, you know, handling, that's brilliant. We've got 255s on the front and 315s on the rear. So you know, there's plenty of rubber getting down there. Wheels, we've got the heaviest, and they have not been made larger. Okay, now clutch. We have a stock clutch, of course. Stock transmission. We have a race drive line and a race diff, of course. Now this is all going to be done, but we'll go through it anyway. Springs and dampers are of course race. We have race anti-roll bars front and rear. We do not have a reinforcement roll cage, and all the weight has been taken out. So this thing is as light as it can possibly be, giving us great acceleration. Now, engine wise, here we go. No intake, no manifold, no fuel system, no ignition, stock exhaust, stock camshafts, stock valves, stock engine, but I don't know if you can see there's a theme starting to emerge, you know. Stock pistons. But we do have race oil and cooling. But we have a stock flywheel. So, well, not nothing, but very little, aside from the race and cooling, the oil and cooling, sorry, very little has been done. Because this thing's got a great amount of power as it is. It doesn't need any help, really. I've made it lighter, the acceleration's been thrown through the roof. There's no drag, this thing's got no aero on it. It's like a bullet, it's beautiful. So let's get to the numbers. Okay, so with with sport tyres and race tyres, you want to go 27 or 27.5. With this I've got 27.5. There you go, there's your stock gearing, can't do anything with that, but it looks pretty nice. Okay, Camber, we've got minus 2.4 at the front, minus 1.4 at the rear. Toe, 0 at the front, minus 0.1 at the rear, pretty regulation standard that. And the caster is at 5.5. Now, I'd be inclined to change that slightly, maybe to 5.9, because the caster is something that I've kind of, on Forza 5, my casters were set between sort of 5.8 and say like 6.2. I've moved over to Forza 6 and I changed that slightly. I brought it down just because I wanted to see the effect. It doesn't have a great effect. It's all about balancing the car through the power. So when you put power down, where does the weight of the car, you know, where does it go? You want to keep it as balanced as you can. It doesn't make a great difference. It doesn't make a huge amount of difference. But I think I'm going to go back to where I was on Forza 5 with a lot of these things. So this is going to be one edit we're going to see during the video. I'm going to change that to 5.9. Just because that's a number in between that range there. You can go 6 or 6.1, I don't know. I'm just going to go 5.9. So let's move on. Anti-roll bars, 24.81 at the front and 18.41 at the rear. Again, those are might play around with, but right now, the way this tune is, it handles great. It works a treat. I'm not going to touch that. It works well. I like it. We've got spring set to 880.3 and 807. Again, that's using the same old calculations before. So you take the weight of the car, times it by 0. Whatever the front weight bias is, then divide that by 2. That will give you your front spring rate. Do the exact same, only with the remaining spring rate for the rear. So it's the weight of the car times the remaining weight bias to the rear of the car, and divide that by 2, and that gives you your rear spring rate. So 0 point whatever the weight bias is, not just the weight bias. 0 point. That's how you get a percentage. Who did maths at school, which is all of us. Right, ride height. Both at 5.1. I tried to keep the car level, but usually, you know, I just keep them both the same like that. But this, as I say, this works fine. I'm going to leave that as it is. I like it. Rebound stiffness, we've got 10 at the front and 9.4 at the rear. Again, that ratio seems to work well. Whether you want to play around with yourselves, I don't know. Whether you like a slightly softer setting, in which case I suggest keeping the ratio between them the same. So keep 0.6 the same, because this really works. But you know, just drop it down to like, you know, that's the same ratio, still 0.6 between them, but you'll get a slightly softer feel. The car won't be quite as twitchy, I suppose, or quite as responsive. It won't have a great difference, but you know, people like different things. Different strokes for different folks, as they say. Now, this has got my old way of tuning bump stiffness on it. This is a tune that's about 3 weeks old, maybe 4 weeks old. But I've been using it quite a lot recently, and it works well. I am tuning my bump a lot different now, so this may change. I may do a future video where I show the way that this has changed, but right now that's set to 2 and 2. Fair enough. But I would, if I was going to change it right now, I would probably put it about, without testing it, just as a look, probably about there. I've learned a lot about bump in the last couple of weeks while just playing around with tunes on here. And what the bump does, I find, it gives you a lot more control on the turn into a corner. So when you're braking and you're turning into the corner, you can get a lot more pinpoint direction with having, you know, bump correctly. Now the way to do it is, it's similar to your rebound, in that if you've got more weight bias to the front of your car, so say your weight bias is 53%, then you want more rebound, more bump on the front. Vice versa, if you've got more weight bias towards the rear, so like in a mid-engine car, so you've got like 44% to the front, you want more rebound stiffness, more bump stiffness to the rear. This just keeps the car better balanced, it gives the support where it needs it, and it just makes it all more responsive, and it works better. It doesn't feel like it's, you know, trying to wrestle itself off the track. So yeah, right now, I'll tell you what, I'll save this in a different way. I'm doing this off the hook right now. I wasn't planning to do this. I will keep the tune, the original tune, to set with 2, and with the camber set to, sorry, the caster set to it was as well. But this one, with the uprated bump and the slightly changed caster, and maybe a couple more things, I will resave as a different one, and I'll call it YouTube. And yeah, so you can download both, see what you like better, see what you know, which one works better for you. Got no downforce obviously, so they can't change any of that. And the brakes are set to 50% balance and 85% pressure. Now that surprises me slightly, but fair enough. The pressure, that's pretty much my stock pressure now. I'm going between 85, actually no, I'm going between sort of, some cases probably 82 and 90, but mainly 85. And yeah, usually my balance is about 48%, which would provide, yeah, with better stopping distances, but this works well as it is. I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm not going to change that. That is something that doesn't need to be changed in tunes. And our diff is set to 80% acceleration and 83% deceleration. Again, I may change that slightly. I've been lowering my acceleration slightly to around about 73, 74 recently, just because, I don't know, again, it feels better. The more I play the game, the more, you know, things change. You know, the way I like a car feels slightly changes perhaps. So yeah, in this new tune, I'm going to change that to 74, and that to, I'm just going to move that slightly to 82. So So this is the one here, it's called No Aero. That's the one I've just been showing you originally. And the new one is going to be called YouTube. And we'll save it under, as we usually do, circuit and average. So yeah, do try this out. Try both tunes. See which one works better for you. As I say, that one I've just saved, bear in mind, is untested. But it shouldn't be any worse. I may have to tinker with the rebound slightly, because when you change the bump, it does make the car that bit more responsive, and it may be a bit too responsive now. So if you want to just try the first setup, that is the setup I've got. That is my lap record holder around Spa. Like I say, I mean, it's not a great time. It's like I can't remember exactly what the time is. It's not a wonderful time, but it's a good time. It's a very competitive time. If you use this car in hoppers around tracks like that, you will do well. You will do fine. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you like, please do like the video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.